Uh, hey, everybody. Welcome to For the Record, which is a conversation series presented by Grey Matter, where we talk to music heads about their stories and the music that makes them. It's great to have you here, Cass.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. Love the excitement.
Yeah.
To begin, as always, we like to start at the beginning, and I would love to hear from you kind of the basics, where you're from, where you grew up, and when your relationship with music first started.
Yeah. So I grew up in New Jersey, born and raised in the town that my dad grew up in, like a very small town. My relationship with music definitely started really young. I don't know. I have a great relationship with my parents. My dad was always super into music, like always playing drums locally. And I don't know, when I was like probably like 4 or 5, when my dad would like drive around to try and put me down for a nap, he would play music. And I think from there, like the spark kind of just started. My dad used to quiz me on music.
My kind of guy.
Yeah. So he'd play a song and be like, "Who's this?" And 4-year-old Cassidy was like, "Oh, this is Elvis," or "Oh, this is Queen," or whatever he played.
Mhm.
I caught on. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, and then my parents just always really supported um, the hobby of like consuming music. Like I was asking to go to shows really young. They would take me, which evolved into like basically like a contract of because I'm so close to New York. All the shows were happening in New York.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of them were like you can't get in if you're not like 16 or over. So I would have to like convince my parents to come take me. And again, it turned into a contract of like you can go to any show you want to, as long as you pay for the ticket and you go to school the next day and you have all your homework done.
Mhm.
And that's
Reasonable.
kind of yeah, that's kind of how it happened. I like decided at 14 I was going to be an A&R, and they were like, "What's that?" And I said, "Don't worry about it." Yeah, yeah.
Cool. What do you remember the first show that you ever went to, or that you tried to get your parents to let you go to or come with you to?
Oh my gosh, yeah, my very first show ever was Ashley Simpson.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
I
Nice.
was, I think I was 8 or 9, maybe. My parents were like, "Who is this?" Again, don't worry about it. Um, Yeah, and then I mean they were taking me to like their kind of shows, like their taste. They took me to like Jamiroquai when I was a kid, and yeah, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then I don't know. There was I was going to shows not as frequently, but then I turned like 13, 14, and then it just really picked up. Um,
Hmm.
yeah.
Or what are some of the memorable shows? Like, talk about like the settings, like going to New York. Like, who did you see? What kind of venue
Oh
was
my
it?
gosh, yeah. Um, I I did force my mom to come to an Ed Sheeran show with me, obviously. I was not old enough to go alone. And it was at so crazy. It was at like Irving Plaza. There was like no one there. It was small. It was small. And then I forced her to go again um at Terminal 5, which is also a pretty small venue. But yeah, I was like, he's gonna be huge. Just you watch.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. Oh, obviously, I was a huge like Justin Bieber girl and a huge One Direction girl. I think the like fandom of it all really got me hooked.
Hmm.
Like I was involved in like the internet culture and
Hmm.
yeah, and I think that's like kind of I take that like fanhood with me into my career. I feel like I tap into it on the regular. It's like, what does the fan want? And like that's how you really, build a career.
Okay. What does the fan want these days? I'm curious to know.
I mean, it's really contingent upon who the fan base is. I think it changes, from fan to fan. But if you're tapping into like the headspace of like a 14-year-old girl, I got you. That's covered. I I was there. I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But truly, at like a Justin Bieber concert, I was obsessed, obsessed, obsessed. And it was there where I was like, oh my God, these people aren't they're not his friends. Like they work for him. I could work for him. Like, and then that sparked like the research of like what careers there were in the music business.
So you were 13, 14, and you already knew at that point that you wanted to do A&R in music.
Yeah.
That was the path. So then what happened after that? Like, how did you start working toward that?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, just actively participating in like attending live shows, that was huge for me. And then, expressing that I wanted to pursue this seriously, and applying to colleges for that, which my parents were kind of like, are you sure? This doesn't really make sense. Like I was just really big into like academia in general. So they just didn't expect me to pursue something that like that leaned creative like that, I guess. But they supported it. I ended up going to school for music business. I got my bachelor's in music business. Um, and then after that, I was like, oh my God, there's no shot I get a job after this degree. Like I've had two measly internships and no connections, and there's just no way I'm getting a job in A&R. So yeah, then I ended up getting my master's degree in music business, which is like totally not necessary, like fully not necessary, but I did it anyway. I said, hey, why not more debt? Let's do it.
Yeah, totally. It gives you more time to think about what you're actually going to use your degrees for.
Yeah, well, I knew, I mean, I always knew that this was like always going to be the path. I just didn't feel like I had the background or connections for it, and I thought that pursuing education more would give me those connections. I mean, the program was based in New York, so it's like the perfect place to be. The cohort was super small, and they all, most of them ended up either working in music or pursuing music. And with a program, you were like supposed to get more internships. That was the only way you could graduate. And I thought if I was like, oh, I can just get more internships and meet someone and like weasel my way into a job. Yeah. So yeah.
And then did that work?
Actually, yeah, it did. Shockingly, it did. I mean, the internship part was great. I think I graduated with like 8 internships total, which is like so ridiculous. Yeah, no one needs to do that, but I did it. Whatever. I met someone in the program, and we just were so on the same page about everything. He is a producer, and I don't know, we just so aligned on so much of like our just philosophies about music in general and like how to develop and care for artists and support them in like that development journey. And because we aligned on everything, not even just music, just like personally, we were great friends. We were like, what if we started a label? How crazy would that be? And that's what we did. He and I and his manager were like, let's just do this together. He was still a developing producer at the time, and he had just like a whole roster of really small artists that he was working with, and they just all, were family friends, or they grew up together, or college friends, or just people that he knew. And we were like, let's develop them and turn this into something. So yeah, that turned into Good Boy Records. We moved out to LA. We, from the ground up developed Maisie. I will say that his name is Ely, by the way. Ely was developing Maisie before I got on board. He had been working with her forever because they grew up together. And then I stepped in to like fine tune the business portions of it, and like really world build around what they were making sonically, which was really exciting to do. Like, I mean, it was super DIY. We were like filming music videos on my iPhone, and like, it was super boots on the ground type situation.
Cool. I love that. I mean, that's, that's where the best energy is.
Totally. Oh my God, totally.
Was there like a particular, ethos or, artist style, artist level of, type of music that you were rallying around?
Um, I mean, I think that the artists that we were working with were all very different. Like, we definitely didn't gravitate to any sort of genre or anything like that. I think it was really contingent upon friendship and, like, liking the person and believing in the person and believing in their work ethic and, like, how can we add value to an existing thing.
Hmm.
Um, I think also the whole premise, the whole ethos of the label itself was with an artist friendly mindset. I mean, like, that is what we were trying to do. Like, first of all, development in general is not what we're seeing just like in major label culture. Um, so just that act alone, like actively developing something, was different. And also, artist friendly deals and really prioritizing making sure everyone gets their flowers and everyone, you know the songwriters get, the points and a fee, just like the producer does, like that kind of thing. Just
Hmm.
fairness was the goal always.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good thing to rally around. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I don't think it's a crazy thing to rally around either. I think a lot of people kind of get hung up on the nitty-gritty, but I'm like, I don't know. I think it's worth it to make sure that everyone is treated like fair. I don't think that's crazy. But
Absolutely. That should just
yeah,
be, how we operate, from a day-to-day basis.
totally,
Everyone
totally.
for everything, but a lot.
Throwing people a point for their work on a project is not, it shouldn't be this outlandish thing, you know?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do it together. It's like, why not? Like this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the semantics of, like, what the producer does and what the songwriter does and what the artist does within a session, it's so all of the same,
Mm,
to the point where they should all just be treated the same, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I imagine there are some instances that are probably outliers in which you may have to revisit that and think about equity in terms of like the energy
Of
that's put
course.
in, but that's the exception to the rule, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely exceptions where, of course, someone comes in with something that's already done and they just need X,
Right,
Y, and Z.
right.
Of course. But I mean, if a song is started in a room with the same people who all are doing the same thing,
Yeah,
you know,
totally,
yeah.
totally. Um, cool. So is that, are you still working on Good Boy Records?
No, no, I'm out. I was there for 2-ish, 3-ish years. And we all moved to LA together. This whole, like, group collective of us all just packed our bags and went during the pandemic, which was crazy. So I was working on Good Boy. I was managing a few producers, songwriters, artists. I was doing a handful of, work on the side, consulting, like social media consulting with independent artists, and I did some tour managing. All while this was happening, just trying to, like, figure out, I don't know, what I wanted to do, what was going on, trying stick my hand in multiple pots kind of thing. Um, and after about 2 years in LA, I was like, "Wait, I don't know if I like LA. Sorry, guys." Yeah, so about 2 years ago now, I left Good Boy, I left LA, I moved back to the East Coast, and I've been here since. I did some, consulting work for Elektra. I was like an A&R scout there for a while. Um, and then, it was like a part-time gig, and I was really looking for health insurance and something
Yeah,
more stable.
right.
Um, so I ended up, thinking it all over. I'm like, okay, I did the label thing, I did the management thing, I did tour management. What haven't I done? And that was publishing. So I like for a year, did a little stint in publishing. Glassnote Records has like a publishing arm, so I was uh, championing that for a year. It was small startup. Um, Glassnote has like really cool, really extensive roster, and it was completely separate from that. So it was really, with the idea of like building songwriters up from the ground, which was super cool. Yeah. So I was there for a year, and then I was like, wait, I don't know if I want to do publishing. Like I tried it. I don't know if this is it. And now I'm back to the label thing. So yeah, I think I'm a label A&R.
Yeah,
Check. Figured it out.
cool. I mean, good for you to have clarity on that. I mean, that's like there are like all these different angles that you can approach the music industry from, all problematic and convoluted and difficult in their own way. But have
Don't say.
clarity on where you feel like you should be is, that's a big deal.
Yeah, no, it's definitely put my mind like at peace. It's like, okay, this is what I know to be true. Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm back. I just started a new job. Um,
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited about it. So it doesn't have a name. It's so new that it doesn't have a name, but it is legit. I swear. I'm not lying. Yeah, so it's a startup via Live Nation. The Element1 management team, who is, it's comprised of these four really incredible people. Chris Waltman, Ashley Pimenta, Daniel Rubin, and Lily Catrone. They they manage 21 Pilots, and they manage Half Alive, NF. They have a really, extensive list of clients, and they're super hands-on. They were like, what if we started a label? And I just got brought on. I am technically the first hire of the label.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's really cool. I mean, it's their MO is development, which is, I mean, I sound like a broken record. I'm like consistently talking about it, but I really do find it to be very important.
Totally, it is.
Yeah, yeah. But their method of developing, they want to do it through touring, which is like historically how it has been done before social media was a thing, before TikTok was a thing. And that's where like the Live Nation entity comes in to assist there. So yeah, it's super new, super exciting. Hopefully we have a name soon. We'll see.
Cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so, so to understand or make sure I'm understanding, so it's basically it's kind of an imprint within like the Live Nation umbrella that is a label that is going to have access to the Live
Yes.
Nation group of
Yes.
venues, essentially, for
Yes.
touring
Yes.
purposes as a means of artist development for the labels.
Exactly.
Okay.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I think so. I think um I don't know. The music industry is always changing, and pretty consistently you're looking at it and you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, TikTok is great for what it is, but it's really hard to make a sustainable artist career through the means of TikTok. We've seen it done, but the sustainability is always like the thing that's in question. It's like you see something go viral, but like, can they sustain that virality and turn it into like a meaningful, long-lasting career with fans who are dedicated? And I think that is like the hardest part of it all. So there will obviously, we're not dumb. We're gonna rely on social media for what it is, but there's less of an emphasis on that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. No, I mean that makes a lot of sense. I like to hear that because I mean, places like TikTok can be useful for, as you said, like virality, but it's really difficult to create like meaningful strategy around it because it's kind of akin to like buying a lottery ticket, and then maybe you'll win, maybe you'll go viral, maybe you won't. If you do go viral, are you ready to, sustain that momentum? Do you have like more than one song that you can actually build a community around? But actually taking it to like, live touring where people are there in person, actually feeling the resonance of your music, in the same space is really powerful.
Yeah, and you use the word community, which is like I I don't even have the words for the importance of community.
Mhm.
Not just in music, just like in life in general. I think it is like the most crucial part of everything
Yeah.
is building like a meaningful group of people around you. Uh,
Hmm.
and I feel like that kind of thing it is hard to do just through the means of these like parasocial relationships. It doesn't come across in the way that you want it to.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like a scale-based platform, and it's really like I don't know if communities can exist at scale, with a group of tools that are flattened and not really customizable to like an individual experience. Like each community, like I asked you earlier, like what does the fan want? And that's gonna be a different answer for like in every different type of fan, and every different relationship that an artist has with the fan is going to be different. And it's
Right.
it's really important, like to empower like the nuance of those relationships to come through. And that's the kind of thing that is used to cultivate community, and it's really difficult to capture that, explore that in these very broad, traditional social spaces.
Right, right. I also think the beauty of building community via like this live outlet, like touring, I think y- you're able to like really A/B test what works and what doesn't,
Yeah.
like live. Like you can literally see the reaction, like what works and what doesn't. Oh, the crowd really liked this song.
Yeah.
Maybe it should be the next single. Like,
Hmm.
oh, the crowd likes when I talk about this, this, and this. Like maybe there's a way to build that into like my brand.
Hmm.
Like there are things that you're garnering just from the interaction live versus the internet where you post into the abyss.
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
So what is your like what is your personal approach to A&R? Like what are some of the things that you look for in an artist, that really stand out, that are really meaningful, that are really like, oh yeah,
Mm.
this person.
I mean, there's a whole long list. I think obviously it goes without saying that, the music has to be good.
Sure.
The music has to evoke some sort of emotional response where you're like, "Whoa, that's
Mhm.
so cool." It's not like anything I've ever listened to. Like I think there's a not a problem, but I think people see one thing working and they're like, how can we mimic that thing? And
Mhm.
it doesn't feel genuine to like them as a creator, as an artist.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think listening to something that I haven't heard before is, something that draws me in. I think like after the obvious, like cool music, cool branding, or like even without the cool music or cool branding, you can listen to a song and say, oh, it can use this, this, and this, and I can add value here, here, and here.
Mhm.
And also I can listen to this and see a brand around it. I can see the colors that the song evokes, or I can picture a music video when I listen to the song. Those kinds of things are like green flags for me.
Mhm.
But other than that, I think that a lot of my work gets done through my like interpersonal relationships. It's like I meet an artist and I'm like, oh, I like you as a person. I can tell that you have these like, personality traits that are like green flags. Like you do care about your craft and you do, want to work hard. You do understand the intricacies of what this is. Um, and I mean, that alone is really hard. I think a lot of creatives don't invest in understanding like the music industry in general, which I know it's hard to um, take the time to learn. I know that,
Big
but
time.
I think you're only making yourself more valuable by understanding how it all actually works.
Totally.
Yeah, and you're protecting yourself in the process. Like every artist I've ever worked with, I've handed them a music industry textbook. I'm like, learn what your team is doing. That way, like you know what everyone should be doing. If they're not doing it, you can figure it out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, totally. Feels prudent. Also, so that you can, communicate and speak the same language together. So when you like make, collective decisions about the artist's career, they can understand why that
absolutely,
affects.
absolutely. I also think just like historically speaking, I think so much of the music industry has been like, for lack of a better word, like gate kept from the creatives, like
Mhm.
especially the legalities of it, that sort of thing. So arming yourself with that knowledge prevents any sort of mishaps in the future. You get handed a contract and you can understand the language. Like this is what I'm signing myself up for. They can't they can't, mess with me because I do know these things. So equipping yourself with that kind of knowledge is a super green flag.
Totally.
Um, yeah, yeah.
Is there like a definitive resource or collection of resources that you like to give to the artists that you work with?
Oh yeah. Um, what is that textbook all about the music business? I'm like, I literally have it somewhere over there.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, like the Bible. That is like truly uh the book to have. I also think like just equipping yourself with a knowledge of like what's going on in the music industry rather than just like, literal textbooks that teach you the
totally.
intricacies. Like these are the artists that are happening right now. This is like what the playlists are looking like. This is just like the general trends of what's happening. Um, these are the producers that, are really cool and the songwriters that are really cool. Like the people who are actually making the sausage, you know? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
equipping yourself with that information. I also tend to um, lead artists in the direction of I don't know if you're familiar with the podcasts, and the writer is. I recommend that to literally everyone I know. Um, it's a podcast that like the um the guy interviews just songwriters and producers. I'm like, why am I blanking on his name? He wrote a bunch of like Ariana Grande songs and like he has huge cuts.
Yeah,
Um, so he interviews just like all these people behind the scenes and like I don't know, you learn their process and you learn their connections to the music business and like how they got their start, who they frequently like collaborate with and like I don't know, it gives you a real like well-rounded understanding of what is actually going on behind the scenes, which helps paint a picture of how you can apply that to like your own career.
totally. Yeah, I think that's oftentimes the most effective way to really understand, like how the machinations of the industry work, because when it's told through like, you know, personal firsthand experience, like within a narrative that you can visualize the use case, like, oh, okay, that's how that works. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I don't know. I think it just again, everything is so gatekeepy, like everything feels like a very need to know basis. So when you hear these creatives talking about like these are the people that helped me, these are people that I worked with, this is how I did it. This is how you can do it too.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. It feels like
Yeah.
you're being privy, like, like to a secret that the industry doesn't want you to know.
Exactly, exactly. And I think creatives in general, I feel like they get so like laser focused on their own career that they can lose sight of the things that are happening around them. And
Hmm.
it's like those are the things that can help you, all this information, all of these people in general,
Yeah,
this community.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, it really is a resource to
So
equip yourself with. Yeah.
yeah, it's tough. It's like an unfortunate reality, because I think oftentimes creatives just want to be creative, make art, and just like there
Totally.
it is. Go,
Yeah.
do with it what you will. But it's yeah, it's become like, ever more imperative to really understand how all this works and how your art will or won't fit within, these ongoing narratives that exist around you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. Okay. So now I'm going to transition over to the other part of
Yeah.
the For the Record, which is more about the music you listen to. Uh,
Okay.
First, how do you discover music?
Oh my gosh. I think I think that my relationship with music is just like an ever-changing thing and something that totally needs to be
Hmm.
um like there's some upkeeping that comes with it. And
Yeah.
that sounds so silly and
Responsibility.
yeah, yeah, it's like I don't know. First of all, I think, when your passion, your hobby becomes your career, the things can get so muddled. So I think first of all, a lot of my listening, like I distinguish between like, okay, I'm going to listen for funsies right now, or I'm listening, with intent and purpose, and I'm looking. So that is like super important, just like in my process, I guess.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I find music, I think that changes so frequently. I think, you know, there was a time where TikTok was happening and you were finding things there. That I mean, there's obviously there still is it still is a great resource, but like just playlisting in general, like Fresh Finds and um just independent outlets who make uh, their own curated playlists, like We Found New Music or um, just independently owned playlists, that kind of thing.
Right.
I think most importantly, or like how I feel right now, going back to that community thing, it's like I like this set of artists and I trust these artists, I trust these producers, I trust these managers, whoever it might be. I trust their taste. It's like, who are they engaging with, listening to? Who do they believe in, before they have something going on? I think really leaning into the community of people that you trust around you and like listening to what they're, you know, excited about. I think that is like a huge resource. It's like your favorite artists probably have favorite artists, and it's like who are they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. How do you tap into that? I mean, do you like, have you come across spaces where you have the visibility into like who these artists' favorite artists are? Is it more, is it happening more like through conversation, through specific playlists that you find that are, being kept by these artists or
Hmm.
platforms?
I think it can be like a mix of everything. I think, conversationally, it's like artists that I'm friends with, like who have you been hanging out with recently? Like what have you been up to?
Hmm.
Also, this is kooky, but it works. Um, it, Instagram is like a really, really good tool.
Mm.
I It's annoying of me to say because it's social media, but it really does work. I feel like your favorite artists or the artists that you trust, whatever, are posting who they're hanging out with. They are inherently engaging with people that they are working with or want to work with or whatever. So I don't know, that kind of thing where you're like, oh, this artist posted with this producer. Who is this producer? I should look at them. Who is this producer working with? That, makes them attractive to the initial artist who posted them. Like it's like a wormhole of like, clicking on their following, who they're following, who they're following. And I mean, same goes with like just Spotify in general. It's like, okay, I found a song on Fresh Finds. Like, who is this artist? Who are their related artists? Who are their related artists? And
Mm.
like finding, um, I don't know, how everything is like connected because it all is. It totally all is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those wormholes are really fun to go down sometimes. And then, when the connections start to form a network in your head, and you're like, oh yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, and then I don't know, there is like that act of like shamelessness too, that you're like, oh my god, I'm just totally Instagram stalking people, this is so embarrassing. And then even worse, you like have to like cold DM them like, hey, I heard your song, like
Yeah.
let's talk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But that's your job. At least that's like a good
yeah,
reason to tell somebody. It's like good news. Like, I like your music, and what about this?
yeah. I mean, I think that that is like a super exciting part of the job, is like actually finding music and actually liking the music. I feel like just as an A&R, I feel like a lot of things just like come through your email, like, hey, I'm managing this artist, or hey, like you should check this out, which is also, I mean, it's not a good resource. It totally is. But I think there's just, I don't know, a different sort of satisfaction that comes with finding it on your own, you
So,
know? Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh, this is exciting that I stumbled upon this thing,
Yeah.
rather than like their whole one sheet bio demos in my inbox.
Hmm.
I like the hunt. I like the challenge.
Yeah, and it's like more interesting when it's not presented to you by someone who's trying to present you something. It's like,
Totally, totally.
yeah,
You're like, you're just like getting your own context outside of like the professional, like, here it is on this platter. You're
yeah,
like, what are they up to? What are they posting about? What do they like? What don't they like? You can like, I don't know, you can gauge that from someone's like social media presence, you know?
sure, sure,
Yeah.
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, do you remember the first album that you ever purchased, and then the most recent album that you purchased?
Oh my gosh. Okay. The first album I ever asked, like I was like, Mom and Dad, can you please buy this album for me? It was Songs About Jane by
Mm,
Maroon 5,
cool.
which I mean, it's still killer, regardless of what Maroon 5 is today. It's still a killer album. I don't care. Um, the last thing I purchased, hmm. Oh, I went to a show on Saturday and I bought a vinyl there. It was Ryan Beatty's new uh, project, which it is like one of the most beautiful things I've heard in like a very long time. It's called Calico. It is so stunning. I don't even have words for it. It's perfect.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Again, the music industry is like constantly in a weird flux state, or that's what it feels like the last few years. So seldom am I finding things that I'm like, holy moly, this is the coolest thing I've heard.
Yeah.
And that was one of them. I heard it and I was like, oh my God. It feels like you can hear that he listens to Frank Ocean. Like
Mm,
you can understand that that is like a huge influence, but it doesn't feel like Frank Ocean. Like it feels like, I don't know. There's like steel guitar. It feels like there are like country-esque influences to it. It's
cool.
really, really beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to make note of that.
Yeah. And I'm gonna keep talking about it, sorry.
Go, go.
The live set, it's like I've been to so many shows. It's like whatever, that's my job, that's my passion, it's my hobby. I went to the show and I'm like still stunned walking away from it. Like it was such a beautiful setup. Like it was a big room. We were at Brooklyn Steel. It's like probably
Mm,
like 2,000 capacity. It's significant. Um, but it felt so intimate. It was like him sitting in a chair and all the musicians, his band around him in like a semicircle, just all sitting playing together. It was stunning.
cool.
Yeah. Would
Cool.
recommend.
Yeah, I can tell. I love that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Who are, I mean, maybe this is one of them, but three artists of note that you heard for the first time in the past year or so?
Oh, in the past years. Okay. Okay. Let me think. Um, one, maybe. Okay. this is someone who is like in my community who like he has music out. His name is James. His current project is called DBA James. He was the lead singer of a band called Bay Faction. So this is like his solo project, and I think I don't know. I've obviously have context. I know the demos, whatever. But I don't know. I think it's just like really ingenious writing, and like the brand is really cool and funny. And it is like part of the New York scene. I just think it's like a really cool setup. I really like what he has going on.
Cool.
My God, who else have I been just super excited about? I'm like, can I check my Spotify?
Well, most people do.
Okay, that makes me feel better. What have I heard this year that makes me excited? Oh, actually, this is like, I don't know, it's not silly, but it's like I was I was never a big Taylor Swift girl ever.
Mhm.
I mean, like I consumed it like passively. Um, but I heard folklore for the first time in the last year, and I was like, oh wait, I get it.
Hmm.
I understand it. And whatever. I know she's huge and but I understand it. It's exciting to watch from the outskirts of like not being a huge Taylor Swift fan. I am enjoying just like the lore of Taylor Swift and watching on the internet and like having context enough where I've like heard the albums at this point. Um that's one that I've crazy that I only like really tuned in this year, but I was like, I don't know, excited nonetheless.
Cool. Well, I like that answer.
Um, who else? Hmm. I get this is like another like bigger artist, I guess, or not big, but and I know his manager. I like have been aware of him for a while, but I actually tuned into Break-ins this year, and I think it's like so cool. It's like the production is like something that I haven't really heard, and it's all done by him. Like I think it's just like it's a crazy project, and watching fans be excited about it because it is, I mean, it is signed and big and whatnot, but it's still relatively on the smaller end of things. And watching like a really engaged, um, just group of kids like really uh, be invested in it is really exciting.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Cool.
like, oh, Beyonce.
Yeah. Never heard of her.
Yeah, no, it's kind of small. I don't know if you'd be, in tune with that kind of thing.
I actually saw Beyonce play in Sweden last year, and I've never. I mean, I always liked Beyonce, but it's never been like
A thing, yeah.
a thing. But after I saw her, I was like, damn, I understand.
Yeah, and I mean, not to get on a whole tangent about it, but like the what she's doing is so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I've garnered, again, through internet research, is like
Mhm.
that the next album is part of a trilogy, and then there will be a third album, and it's like a reclamation of what is like historically Black music, which is so genius.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty
like,
sweet.
what can't this woman do? She's like, oh, here's a dance record. Also, you're gonna get a country one and yeah, a rock one as well, because I can do that.
If anybody can, it
If
is.
if anyone can,
It's
Miss
her.
Miss Beyonce Knowles, she's got it.
Yeah. Um, cool. Okay, this is a question that I'm only asking you. You know, just given your work, but I'm curious if there's one. Um, if you could sign anybody, if you could work with any artist in the world, who would it be?
I could work with any
Or just,
my
or let's say like, I mean, this is kind of the same question, but reframing it is like you're on Instagram, you're doing you know, you're like in your work mode discovery process, and you stumble upon this thing. You know, let's say it's this artist that you're about to say or whatever. At that phase when they need to be signed, making music really exciting. You know, who is that for you?
like they can be big and signed, or are we talking about on the smaller end of things?
No, yeah, they can be big and signed. Like you can say, like, go back in time. It's like, oh, I wish I had been
Oh,
there
oh, okay,
for that.
okay,
So it can be, either.
okay. My number one artist of my life ever is probably Lorde. I
Mm-hmm.
if I could work with Lorde, I that would be it. That would be my peak. I think everything that she does is ingenious. I think I mean, like I said before, there are seldom times where I hear music and it actually like speaks to me in a way that there's an emotional response. I think Lorde and I are around the same age, so I think that her albums really coincide with like exact things that were happening in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, she's done just like a lot for just like the culture of being a teenager in suburbia. I think so many kids can just relate to that. That was like her first project of like, let me glorify what it's like growing up in the suburbs in like a nothing town and being no one. And here I am. And you hear that and you're like, oh my God, that's me. This is exactly how I feel. And then the next album was like a breakup album and like a coming of age sort of thing where she was stepping into herself and trying out new things. And that was me in college. Totally get it. And then the last album, which like didn't really receive the praise that the other two had, because she like took whatever a risk with the Sonics. Um, it still resonated for me, not just because I'm a fan. Just I took the time to like really unpack what she was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just think that the whole project was about like it was like a healing thing where she was like, I need to heal, and this is me stepping into the sunlight, which is like painful but necessary. That was like the thesis of the project. Yeah, if I could work with Lorde, I think I just have a lot of context of like the the fan base and what she's trying to do and how she connects with her fans, and like I get that.
Cool.
Or like One Direction, if I can
Mm.
get them back together, that would be sick. That's my other answer.
Okay, cool. I see the Harry Styles poster in the back.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There's another one right here. Like,
Nice.
yeah, I, you know, I was huge. I keep talking about the internet, but like truly, I was huge on big into Tumblr, big into Twitter, and um, yeah. I mean, One Direction, Tumblr was like a pivotal moment in my life and my understanding
Mm.
of my relationship to music. I'm like, oh, I want to do this for
Yeah.
real.
Cool.
Yeah,
Um, okay, cool. Here's the big question.
good question.
Uh, you're going to to a desert island and you get to bring 3 records with you. What are they?
Records, like albums, or
Three albums.
oh my God, that's a hard question. Hmm. Okay. I mean, like Melodrama by Lorde, for sure. Blonde,
Nice.
Frank Ocean.
Hmm.
Um, oh God, I don't know. Maybe. Oh my God, I don't know. Third, this is hard. This is like I was gonna say like Sigh No More by Mumford and Sons. I love that record. Um, but I don't know. I'm like I feel like I should give something like more historically acclaimed, like Tapestry by Carole King,
That's a good
or
one. Go
uh,
ahead.
or like my favorite Beatles album is the White Album.
Yeah.
Probably
Also,
give you that one.
White Album. That's a good one.
Wait, what's your favorite Beatles record?
Oh man, I don't know. White Album is definitely up there, and I also like that there's no that that there isn't a number 1 hit on the White Album. It makes me like it more for some reason. And it's also
Yeah,
got a lot of music.
yeah, yeah. It's all over the place.
So which would be a good thing to have, on to bring to a desert island, more diversity, more music.
Right, right.
Um, Yeah, I remember the first time that I heard back in the USSR. It's like, damn, this doesn't sound like the Beatles, but it's pretty cool.
I like something about like Rocky Raccoon is like that's probably my favorite Beatles song. I'm like, this is like the sickest song ever.
So playful, and yeah, it's
Yeah, like the storytelling aspect of it is
yeah,
like it's fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so are you going with the White Album?
Yeah, I'll go with the White Album. I think it's still like a basic answer, but like there's
No,
range.
great
I
answer.
don't listen to just pop music, I swear.
I think it's a great answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, cool, Cass. That's about it. Thank you so much for being here, for your time, for your energy. For the people who are listening who want to follow along with what you're doing, get involved in any way, where is the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, you can, I mean, hit me up, talk to me, whatever. I am on Instagram. Cassidy R Murphy is my handle. I'm on Twitter. I think it's Cassidy __ Murphy. Yeah, you can find me on the internet. I'm there. I'm
On the
everywhere.
is
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah,
Cool. And last question before you
yeah.
go. Who is another music head that comes to mind that we should have on For the Record?
Oh, another music head. Favorite people ever. Her name's Kat Nasser. She is an Electra A&R, and she can really speak to just like she knows so much about music, and she is a fangirl like me. So
Cool.
yeah,
Love it.
respect.
Love it. Pat Nasser. Okay, cool. Yeah, Cass, thanks again for being here. This has been really great.
Yeah,
Really
thank
enjoyed
you for
talking to you,
having me. This has been really great.
of course. So be well.
You too.
Take care. Good luck as the gig gains contours and a name.
Thank you. Thank you. Fingers crossed it's soon.
And yeah, cool. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you for everything. I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, take care.
Alrighty.